Okay, camera recording. So, hello everybody. I hope you're really well. Welcome to our DNA seminar. I'm really happy that you have chosen to be here for some of you, and also to watch the replay for whoever's not able to make it live. So, welcome to the session. So, I have got quite a few things that I want to communicate in relation to DNA, and I'm aware also as I'm about to do so, that we're all coming from different backgrounds. So some people might have had some experience of energy work, some other people might have not any experience, and I want you to know that it really doesn't matter. I will explain some of the key functions of DNA activation as a modality, as a process that I offer to people that wish to receive it. So we'll discuss about that, and I will also talk about some of the key differences to some of the key modalities like Reiki that you might be aware of, or other things that you might have had a taste of. So the main thing is that I want you to just be really open to kind of assimilate some of the information. I want to take you to the history of DNA activation, and I want to tell you a little bit more about why our DNA is not activated. It is something that should have happened, and it's not something that has happened. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the modality as well, and how this particular modality came to be. Because I don't know if you're familiar, but there are a lot of different kind of modalities out there that are doing DNA activation. Yeah, this is a very particular set of modality that I've learned from two women in the States, and that is being passed down really widely, basically. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those things, and let's just start a little bit with what DNA activation is. Okay, actually, before I go into this, I wanted to tell you a little bit about my background, because although I work shamanically, at this point in time, I work as a coach. I'm a qualified coach. I qualified with Anthony Robbins through a modality that is called strategic intervention, that are basically, it's a tool and a system that really helps people with self-development and connection with life purpose, as well as really resolving some key issues and conflicts in their own life and experience, yeah, in all the dynamics. But I have a background of about 12 years of working experience as an energy worker. I used to be a teacher of magnified healing for a number of years, which is a highly technical modality that you get to really, there's different functions to it. And I've been trained in Reiki, and I used to kind of facilitate Reiki sessions. So energy work has been a very big part of my life, and I have always been really, it's been an aspect of my life that has been really important to me, and part of the work that I do and I integrate with my clients as well. So that's a little bit about my history. Okay, now I mentioned that during this session, during the seminar, we're also going to be receiving some healing. I've actually started the healing process already. I've set up the healing grid that we use when we go into the DNA activation. So, and I've called in my guides, and I've really set the energetic foundation. So all I was going to say is that just be open to receive the healing as you're also receiving the seminar. So there's nothing else for you to do. But because healing is also involved, I would just say to you, please do drink water. It's very good to help process things, and just to help release kind of, as you're kind of processing the information I'm also giving you as well. So do drink water after the session or during. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about DNA activation. What is DNA activation, first of all? So DNA activation is essentially the activation of our DNA strands using vibrational frequency that is transferred via light and sound. Okay, so DNA activation, when we're talking about DNA activation, we are talking about activating a spiritual DNA. And there is so many different aspects to this process. There's a very particular practice involved. And, you know, at school or through our lives, we have heard the term DNA, and we've heard a few things about it. We've particularly known the symbol of the double helix of the two DNA strands kind of crisscrossing each other, right? And that is the kind of key image of DNA that we know. However, what we might not be aware of from a spiritual perspective, from an energetic perspective, from a multidimensional perspective, there are so many more strands to our DNA. It's not just two. It's just that they have not been activated. And I will go into the reasons as to why that has happened. So our DNA is more like a 12-dimensional formation, yeah? So think about 12-dimensional formations of the DNA strands, yeah? Are actually crisscrossing each other, and it's not just two. In fact, we can activate all the way up to 48 strands of our DNA. We can do the first process is 1 to 24, which is the process I actually offer. There's a very separate training to activate up to the strands of 48. And then there's the strands of 13 to 48. And what's important to share about this is that when it comes to DNA activation, which happens through, as I said, vibrational frequency via light and sound, yeah, we don't, these are really the most important ones to first activate. The 1 to 12 are the most important ones to activate. And the reason being is that they're essentially the strands that are deeply connected to a human experience, yeah? So a human experience is the one, the human vehicle is the one that we come in the world with. So anything to do with our emotions, our mental body, our kind of emotional body, our physical body, obviously, anything to do with our intuition, anything to do with our purpose, all the kind of key functions that we have and that we need in order to fulfill ourselves in our world, both in terms of the sort of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like the physical needs, the emotional needs, the safety needs, as well as though then deeper into our purpose, deeper into our intuition, fulfilling our purpose and really being able to live as an embodiment of our purpose, yeah, and our soul energy. So the first 12 strands are absolutely essential, activating those because they are so close to our human experience. And I'm going to go into a little bit more into this, yeah. So I'll go into it in a little minute. So what happens is that due to the fact that we have not had the strands of DNA activated, and I will talk a little bit about the history as to why that has happened, what has happened is that as we are not as activated, the way that shows up, the lack of activation shows up as a sense of block, as a sense of resistance, as a sense of self-sabotage. It will manifest as a kind of like lack of connection, a deeper connection with our own selves, with our intuition, with our energy, a trust in self, but also a connection to the universe and feeling one and connected to the universe and the wisdom that we receive from that. And for me, what I understood when I was what attracted me rather when I was kind of in this modality is that it's not just about the kind of basic aspect about a human self and a human vehicle in terms of all our emotional body, mental, physical, and our connection to self, but it's really the aspect that intrigued me the most is also about a lot of the blocks we have from connecting with our intuition and the messages and guidance from our higher self. So this is a very important part of the process, really. And we were always meant to activate the 12 strands of our DNA. That was always from the beginning part of the what needed to happen. The reason this didn't happen is because, let's picture this, yeah? So just before we chose to reincarnate on planet Earth, right? So let's just kind of say, let's set the precipice that we are multidimensional beings, that we've had plenty of reincarnations. And in those reincarnations, we have not always come to planet Earth. We have lived in other star systems as well, okay? So this modality works on that precipice, okay? So this is a little bit about the history of DNA activation and now how it came to be and why we were blocked from really experiencing our DNA being fully activated. So when we chose to come to planet Earth from the different star systems that we used to come from, there was a coalition of beings. We thought that as we would come in, we would receive the DNA activation that we receive in other, that we have automatically when we are part of the other more advanced civilizations in terms of the other star systems. Yeah. So there was an understanding that as we would come down, that on planet Earth, that we would actually still receive those light codes and those kind of spiritual technologies that allows us to have that kind of unblocked experience with our, you know, with the cosmos, as well as with our soul purpose. Now, what happened, however, and you probably know this already, right? Planet Earth has always held a low vibration to a lot of the other star systems and civilizations, okay? So you'd be, you know, you'd like to think, I guess, why do we choose to be here? That's a very interesting question, you know, because in many ways, you know, one of the things that is known is that this planet is always, it might feel to us, it's such a dense experience, and it might feel to us crazy that we even choose to come back to planet Earth to reincarnate. But because of the density of the experience, because of all the lessons that come with it, because of how different it is vibrationally to every single other experience in the universe, in terms of how the other systems are known as more advanced civilizations, there seems to be an attracting element to it, yeah, because there's some, it's just an experience that people want to have, so that the beings we get to have as beings, right? However, there was a coalition of star beings thinking, hang on a minute, how are you to go on such a low vibrational planet and such a low vibrational energy and get to experience this activation and bring all these teachings and all that knowledge that you get to have when you, that is more effortless when you live as part of the other vibrational systems, right? Like the high vibrational systems, the other civilizations. So for a coalition of star beings, that was not on, and it was not really, they didn't want that to happen. They didn't want us to bring that knowledge into the planet Earth, and they didn't want us to experience that kind of evolution, which sounds kind of crazy, but it's just sort of like really, there was that kind of block there. And the reason, the way they went about kind of blocking that from happening is from making sure through the input of certain implants, yeah, called seals, which act as energetic fences, which is really the biggest part of this process of DNA activation, is removing those seals. We have several different types of seals that I'm going to talk to you about. And it was all about pretty much, they were placed not only in our DNA structure, it was also placed into the Earth's grid, okay? So the Earth's grid has got the different kind of energetic centers. There's 7 different energetic centers, like our chakras. The Earth, our planet, has got those as well. They were placed there, and those really stopped the evolution of our planet. And there was this fear that we wouldn't be able to know what to do with that information, and we would misuse it, basically, yeah. But that was at the time when I guess the planet's vibration was much, much lower than it is now. You'd kind of guess with all the, you'd wonder with all the things going on our planet, have we really evolved? But we have indeed evolved so much more than we actually think that we have. I can hear my kitty in the background. I'm not letting her in. And the seals will place that so that we cannot really kind of activate more the potential of our growth on a spiritual level, yeah, and our connection to self, our connection to soul, and our connection to cosmic self as well, and our galactic self. And it came to a point that, that's what was going on. And instead, the records of that consciousness, the records and the light codes of this activation were taken through Atlantis to the Temple of Isis in Egypt, and they were placed there in the catacombs to be kept safely. Now, I think I mentioned, some of you might know, I have mentioned, depending on where you read the information about the seminar, there's a connection to Mary Magdalene, which I will come into in a minute to talk about, and to say what the connection is with Mary Magdalene, because that modality, this modality has actually essentially been channeled to these women through Mary Magdalene, okay? So we have this experience now where we cannot access those DNA activation codes, but then as the planet evolves over the years and years, there was an opportunity to then be able to access it through Mary Magdalene, learning the activation codes, and then through Isis, and then being able to deliver it to us, the practitioners, yeah? And then we have the opportunity to do the following things. DNA activation is the process where we activate all the different sort of strands that I talked about. And I want to get into a little bit more detail as to exactly what they are, the different strands, and to give you a little bit more information on what, when we activate the strands, what is it exactly that gets activated. This is the thing that I want to tell you about. It happens through a healing grid that is being created, first of all, is what you want to know. And then we start the activation. The activation is actually the last part that takes place. The first thing that needs to take place is that remove those seals. Those seals are those particular implants that are acting as energetic fences and blocks in our energy and stop us from really experience energetic flow and connection to self. And it also does not allow, the energetic seals do not allow the activation of our DNA. So the first thing that we do, basically, once we get into the healing grid, is make sure we remove those seals. And we do that with the help of certain ascended masters that are very specific for each person that actually attend, that is part of the session. So when I activate the DNA of a particular, or one of person A, they will have a set of ascended masters and beings that are actually co-facilitating the process. And then there's when person B will have another set of beings that actually facilitate the process, yeah? So, and then what takes place is that we have the removal of the seals, and I will explain in detail what the seals are. And that is the first most important step. These seals are so heavy, and it's been incredible because so far, the DNA activations I have done, I've been shocked to see how much it has been holding us back. Okay, so let me give you a bit of an example of what these are about, the different seals. We have different, like a set of 7 different seals, and each of the seals, the categories, have got their own set of seals. So, and these are placed in different parts of our DNA that gets to be removed. So the whole thing is pretty technical, right? So the first thing, we have the 𝙎𝙖𝙬𝙬 seals. The 𝙎𝙬𝙬 seals have been on planet Earth for about 200,000 years. The purpose is to affect the physical form and disrupt the energy, our connection to our energy body, particularly the flow from left to right. This is the 𝙎𝙬𝙬 seals. We have about 7 different 𝙎𝙬𝙬 seals in our DNA that need to be removed. It's been very interesting because every time I've been removing the different type of seals, I've been seeing different things happening to the energy body of the client. Yeah, so like tremendous release of density, like opening up to amazing light, being able to really let go and drop things that have been carried for ages, and they have not been serving the person. Yeah. So we have the 𝙎𝙬𝙬 seals. This is particular, it does affect the physical form and disrupts our connection to our energy body, particularly, as I said, from left to right. This is the 𝙎𝙬𝙬 seals. Then we have the zeta seal. That's 1 seal, sometimes 2. That energetic fence affects particularly a connection to our spiritual gifts. By spiritual gifts, I always think about intuition, and I think especially connection to spirit, specific guidance from a higher self, like really being able to connect with our spiritual gifts, with our psychic abilities, and our intuition, our gut feeling. Yeah, so that is often what connects there, and it gives a big boost of energy when it's removed as well. Then we have the death seal, and the death seal can keep our basically lifespan short. Okay, so, and it's everybody has a death seal that needs to be removed, but it also gets us hooked into the reincarnation loop. With the death seal being there as an implant, we do not have the choice to stop reincarnated and being able to allow ourselves to go into a light avatar and basically stop getting caught up in the loop of having to come back to planet Earth. Yeah, so this is a choice that we get to have when that gets to be removed. And then we have the Templar seal. when this is removed, it takes away any doubt that we have around our intuition and our clear abilities, again, psychic abilities, or abilities to, again, receive messages, but really kind of know that the messages are there, really to be able to, the Templar says, really to be able to actually trust the guidance that we get. That's a really important part, yeah? So you must still be able to see, feel, and experience, but it might have more of that sort of sense of like lack of trust. Then we have the Templar axiom, which removes any deep patterns that we have around judgment to ourselves, judging with other people. It's particularly good around shadow work. So if you're really stuck in feeling caught up in your shadow and really feeling that the shadow runs the show and you're not able to be on the driving seat, the Templar axiom is really helping kind of unravel any egoistic thoughts and attachments. And essentially, it gets you into a bit of a process with your shadow work that is a little bit more conscious, that is a little bit more, you're a bit more connected with, you don't feel a victim of, you don't feel yourself so much like being in the mercy of your shadow. You feel that you feel more of a carved path of being able to process things in a much more grounded way and work with your shadow. And by shadow, for those who might not really know what that means, by shadow, I mean really all those kind of parts of ourselves that we don't like, that are hidden, that have been rejected either by ourselves or society or a family, you know, all those things that we have feel shame, anger, fear towards, yeah, within ourselves and other people. So that can be our shadow. And for a lot of people, it's hidden. It's a hidden thing. It starts to become less hidden, and you start to be more in communion with that process and more into a conscious like path of working through the different aspects of your shadow, integrating your shadow, and being able to be in that path really more consciously. So I particularly really love the removal of the seal, because I think that is something that can really run the show in a lot of our lives, and that we can feel so much in the mercy of, you know, or we don't feel like so clear about the process that we can have in place to be able to, in a more spontaneous way, know how to do with our shadow. Then we have the seal of Amenti, and this is to do more with our physical body, with any toxins we have. So this, the removal of that helps us really kind of release toxins easier. It helps us with our lymphatic system, and also it was placed there so that it blocks us from being able to remember important information about our healing capacity and things that can really help educate us and other people as well. So it really helps kind of really remove the block towards the kind of natural healing capacity that we have in ourselves. Finally, we have the crown of thorns, which is essentially an implant that distorts the energy flow into the body, and it affects the chakras, but also connection to any etheric guidance from a higher self, from guides, any astrological influence. So we feel again in more alignment with the messages that come through, and that the connection we have with the cosmos. So the crown of thorns, that's a really important one. So you can imagine that when all this get removed, we essentially step into more clarity. I want to tell you a little bit about my process when I got activated, what I got from it, because I can certainly vouch for this process. So when these things get removed, we get more clarity, and essentially that then really helps us become more embodied and embody what we need to embody in order to fulfill our life's purpose, which is obviously what we're here for. Yes, so we're here to really be able to live out the contract, the soul contract that we are here to live out, and to really be able to be more embodied in our experience. Just taking at the time at the moment, so great, we're kind of almost halfway, so that's good. So I wanted you to understand a little bit about that part of the process, because a lot of the times, you know, what I feel this process works in a much deeper way than, say, something like a healing session like Reiki session or magnified healing, whatever other healing that you might receive. There's some really wonderful modalities out there, but it's really helpful to know what these modalities are about, how they are to help us. So this is a one-off process. It's a permanent process. It's 100% permanent. You don't need to reactivate yourself once you've done that. Once the activation has taken place, then that is like, that's it. You don't need to maintain it. Yes, you get into in a process that becomes more conscious, perhaps like we talked about through the removal of the seals, but you don't actually need to do anything else, yeah, from there. And so what I feel can happen sometimes is that there are certain energetic modalities that work in a very foundational way, that are kind of like your bottom like line, if you like, a foundation that you create from which then you can build and then receive other support. So I feel this is one of those modalities. This is one of those things that I think personally everyone could do with doing, like we could all do with activating our DNA strands, getting into that process. And then any other healing that you can do, that's great. But I do feel that when it comes to having implants and energetic fences, you know, that can really stop our growth, they can also become energetic fences from receiving help from other modalities or other sources as well. So it's not just about the what gets released and what gets opened up. It's also about the ability to then, what we receive from other sources, we're able to process that information in a deeper, more thorough and integrative way, because we had set that foundation with having had those things removed. Yeah. And the seal removal is an important part of the process. It's fundamental. Without it, we can't actually activate the DNA strands. Once we remove the seals, we actually do have something called tags, which are other set of implants that are there. Every time we remove the plants, sometimes this message is attached from spirit there and from the spirit guides as to what they were holding us back down to. And that can be really important. I know that when I was removing for a client last week, when I removed some of the seals, there was one of the seal, I noticed that how that was blocking his electromagnetic field and his capacity to really process energy, feel energy, and really allow his energy to really be able to project out into the world, and for him to feel like he can be taken seriously, because he always had that hesitation around the aspect of being seen. And there was a sense like his electromagnetic field was blocking a lot of his energy body, and that was not really allowing him to really kind of shine out his essence, his soul energy, and that to be able to vibrate in a way that was really effective in the world. Yeah. So I really, really loved seeing what each of the seals being removed was doing. I see people coming into DNA activation and leaving completely transformed, in the sense of like how their energy body was vibrating, how their electromagnetic field was, how they were able to feel like embodying the power and their energy in a way that felt grounded into their day-to-day life. So that's been the wonderful thing to witness. And so yeah, that's an important part, the seals and the tags to be removed. And again, there's a lot of different little stages before we get into the DNA activation, and that really, but that's the essential one, and that happens during the healing grid, when we bring in all the guides and the different beings that really help facilitate the process alongside myself. And then you get to, once you remove this, then you go through the process of renovating your DNA strands, because through the seals, there's been a lot of wear and tear, there's been a lot of blockage, and then we get to renovate and also do some etheric alignment and a little bit of an energetic spa, so that your DNA strands, before they get activated, they are pristine, they are clean. And we use light and sound, we use vibrational quantum healing there, and we are able to really restore the DNA in a condition that is going to be then ready to be activated. Because if they're not restored and feeling robust enough, they can, we're not really able to activate them. They can feel a little bit more frail. So it's about going through that cleansing process. Yeah. So there's an etheric body clearing, there's an auric field clearing. We restore the DNA strands. That's a very essential part of the process. And So that takes the majority of the session before we go into the DNA activation. And I want to tell you a little bit about the different stages of the strands, what they actually essentially correlate to. So what happens when we activate the different strands of our DNA? So first of all, we go DNA from 1 to 3. When we activate the strands 1 to 3, the client, the person who receives the healing, essentially the activation, experiences a deeper molecular structure on their physical body. And also they have a deeper capacity, a more explicit capacity, and an easy capacity to process the mental and emotional body. So your thoughts and emotions, you feel again a little bit in the driving seat of your emotional and mental body, as opposed to, again, being more of in the backseat, or being, I guess, having them run the show. So that's an essential part of the activation, because again, as I said, the first 12 strands are very much connected to our experience as human beings. They're very close to a human experience and how we use our vehicle to be able to make the most of our lives. So 1 to 3, we feel a deeper molecular structure, and we activate physical, emotional, mental body, and how we get to process them and how we get to experience them. I know that when I trained in this modality, the facilitator said that people have had conditions that they kind of dropped off suddenly. I mean, I don't know that I don't want to claim it, because I haven't had it in my personal practice. I'm a new practitioner in this anyway. So, but people have claimed that they've had things kind of shifting. I'm going to share a little bit at the end about my process. I want to tell you a little bit about what this has facilitated, what change I've experienced since, and I only have had this for a few months. But that's 1 and 3. Now, when it comes to 4 and 6, when you activate the strands of 4 to 6, 4, 5, and 6, this is more to do with your subconscious mind. This is also to do with your clair gifts, as in clairvoyant, claircognizant, clairsentient. So really your gifts or intuition and psychic abilities. We all come in the world with the ability to have those gifts, right? We have the capacity to be able to see in a deeper way. It's not a special gift. Of course, it's a muscle that needs to be exercised. So it doesn't mean that suddenly you just everything, like activates like that. It's not like that. It's the steps you take from then onwards. However, it activates that capacity to be able to connect deeper with those gifts, but it also connects us with our inner and outer purpose, and the process in which we actually connect with our life's path and our soul's path. So what we're meant here to fulfill, we start to get more of have all those obstacles removed from it, and we feel like there's a bit more clarity around the direction we're taking. For me, I've definitely felt that. I was already pretty connected to my purpose. What I feel has really shifted, though, is that definitely the trust I have around what I'm doing, even when I'm not getting quite the response that I want. I know that I'm in the right path, I'm moving in the right direction, and I feel very connected and trusting that I'm exactly where I need to be. So that's been a very obvious thing for me. So yeah, ability to really kind of process your purpose and really kind of get clarity around this. And really anything to do with the unconscious. Again, shadow is an aspect here, again, to ability to process our shadow, because we feel more connected to our subconscious motives and what they are about. So I find this is a really interesting modality in really helping us getting into this learning process, which is why at the end of this, for those who activate, I do offer a Facebook group, so that people can come together and really unfold that process more and more for them. So it's about really being able to connect with those deeper motives and the unconscious, so that people are kind of being more led. We are led more consciously in our path, and we start to integrate some of the unconscious motives, some of which could hold a lot of our sabotages, right? So that's an important thing. And it helps us with when it comes to making decisions and life-changing decisions, there's more ease about making big decisions. You know, a lot of the times we hear about how in life we are, the purpose is not to alleviate problems or to make things simple, but it's to have quality decisions, quality problems, quality things to deal with. And you know, this is a process that really helps you to kind of grapple with all that in a little bit more of depth and seriousness, really. So you don't shy away from the bigger stuff. So it really helps to facilitate that. Now, when it comes, that's 4 to 6. Then we have 7, 8, and 9. When we activate those strands, we are able to connect with the higher self in a much more effortless way, but also for us to embody a soul essence. Yeah. So a higher self is really what helps guide us through our lives to make the decisions that are for our highest good, as opposed to like decisions that are going to not really yield results that are going to really help us move on a path in a constructive way. And really a higher self helps us come more into alignment with our deeper purpose and our soul's essence. So this is what the DNA strands, activating those DNA strands, are really more about. And finally, 10 to 12, in terms of, we talked about the first 12 being so important, that 10, 11, and 12 is really helping us activate our light being avatar. The light being avatar is the embodied version of your soul, your intuition, and energetic self. It's pretty much you being in alignment with your soul's energy and you really living from the higher self more. So it's the physical energetic embodiment of your soul that you bring into your physical body, and it's your consciousness embodied as an energetic entity. So it's there, not in your mind, it's there more as a consciousness that's leading your being forward. And when you activate those strands, you connect with that part of yourself, your light being avatar, and your energetic self in a molecular level. Okay, that is the process of the first 12 strands. When you activate, then as part of the activation process, you activate the first 12 strands, and from then 13 to 24. The 13 to 24 are all about your connection to your galactic self and your cosmic self. So that's being more united with the cosmos. A lot of times when people feel in isolation or feel like they're kind of small, or we're not able to see ourselves for who we are, is because we can be disconnected from the deeper scheme of things. So the 13 to 24 is the bigger picture, and that's more of an automatic thing that from then onwards, as we activate those DNA strands, we enter into this relationship where we deepen our connection to the cosmos. We deepen our understanding of the spiritual self and the part that we play into the biggest scheme of things. So not just as a human being, but as a spiritual being. So it's the spiritual aspect of yourself, yeah? And that's really what really supports the ascension process, and us to be able to integrate spiritual with physical being, and that essentially we are one and the same, yeah? So, and you know, a lot of all the stuff that I've been talking about here, what's really important to understand is that it's not a magic, it's not like you don't get activated and suddenly everything falls into place. It can happen for a lot of people, but it still requires your initiative. So this is the thing, if it is to come with a disclaimer, like any healing you receive, nobody can just give you everything you need. You still need to make steps forward. I'll share about my journey on this. You still need to take the steps needed to create the shifts you want to create in life. I've been dealing with this virus for a number of years, which manifests as a bit of a mystery illness, which gives me this really intense headache and sickness with it. And what has happened is that I've really started doing something about it. And I've been addressing it holistically through my diet, and particularly, and through my lifestyle, what changes I've been making in my lifestyle. Since doing this activation, I've been getting more of a flow around what is good for me to do. on a very bottom line, on the sort of basic level, I feel like much more in harmony in that. And I felt less stress and worry, and I felt more a sense of trust. I do feel that I've had a good connection with my intuition and higher self, but there's more of a automation, it feels, with it. There's a sense that there's more of a connection that flows, and it's more of an embodied experience of this. Yeah. And that has been an important thing for me. So when people go to, after the activation happens, you do receive a report. And with that report, you also get some questions that you get to be reflecting on, and about the steps forward for you, and about some shadow work. I particularly encourage people to get into their shadow work and really look at all the stuff that gets processed. It's not, you don't have an intense session in the way that you get when you say do like this deep emotional healing session. It's not like that. It's not an emotional experience in that way. It's more of there's more of a subtle expansion that is more, it's a much more embodied experience. And I think everybody gets to experience it the same. So I can only tell you what it was for me. So, but it's not like you have a mainstream healing session. It's a different kind of thing, the activation journey, than is any other healing session where you're buzzing with that kind of energy. It's not like that. It's much more subtle, but significantly different. Yeah. And as I said, it's a healing that happens on a more molecular level, and you need to allow some time for all of that to unfold for you. And what I ask people is to really work with it in a way where you think, okay, what changes am I making in my life, or where am I moving towards? I work a lot with business owners through my coaching modality. And I often, though, work with people who really want to connect with the purpose and see what steps I need to make forward. I think this is a wonderful modality for anybody who's looking at a way of connecting deeper with themselves, as well as like with a spiritual cosmic self as well, and to really kind of do it in a way that is more integrated. Yeah. And of course, for a lot of it is a lot about removing all those energetic blocks that essentially are kind of became our default in our DNA and are not allowing us to unfold in an organic and natural way. So this is what essentially is the whole process is about. I would love you to let me know if you've got any questions. And I know somebody who's here might have, like, I want to ask Elena if she has any questions. Please feel free to think of any questions and then let me know. You can type them, Elena, if you want. If you have a question that you want to ask, please let me know. I want to say that at the moment, I thoroughly recommend this session. If you feel the call towards this, if it's something that feels that you would like, thank you, Elena. If you think it's something that you want to experience, know that at the moment I have an offer on this. So you can, I'll send the link actually. Oh, can I put on the chat? Yeah, bear with me. I want to give you the link on this. Okay, guys, bear with me. I want to give you the link. Oh yeah, here it is. Oh no, it's not the right one. So if you want to know how to book for a DNA activation session, it's £333. As I said, it's a permanent session. You only do it once. It's an offer at the moment. You save £111 if you book in the next week. And you get a full report of the process. You're not actually present in the session. You're not needed to be present, but you do get a full report of this, and you will get a healing audio from me to help you integrate the process as well. So I'll give you the link right now here. But also, just so that you know that I will be offering this as a gift. The DNA activation will be a free gift for, not free, but it will be offered for free to those who come on to coach on my 8-week containers, which is, okay, hold on a minute. I don't know how to, Okay, bear with me. It doesn't let me, I don't know how to paste this. So if you go to samayaadelyne.com, I'm going to write, okay, I'm going to write it. samayaadelyne.com. And you click on the website, you go to the DNA activation and you read the information on the session, you can book from there. If you wish to get it for free and you want to consider working with me in my 8-week containers, either if you're a business owner or if you're somebody who wants to really work shamanically and do a lot of like limited beliefs clearing, lots of energy work, as well as really kind of take you through the process I have with the shamanic coaching. It's great for people really wanting to connect more with the soul energy, with a life purpose, people who really want to be able to feel more embodied in their soul lessons. So let me know, because this session will be for free for my 8-week container. It will come in as free. Yes. So let me know, and or reply to get in touch with me and let me know, either through my website or my newsletter or in the Facebook group or business page, whatever you want. And we can schedule a free little chat where we can see if we're a good match to work together and explore your questions, see where you're at, see if it's something that we both, it feels that is aligned to do. But yeah, if you go to the website and then click on DNA activation tab, you'll see all the information on this. I can't like copy and paste it. Bear with me. DNA activation. Okay, hold on. I can do samayaadelyne.com at DNA activation. Okay, cool. I'll do that. Or if you have any questions about the modality and you want to know anything more, or something you're not sure about, or something that you want me to clarify better, let me know. I would love to answer those. I love this modality. I feel like it's something that everyone should do. It's very foundational. It's really kind of getting us to connect with ourselves in an entirely new way that is more organic and more and deeper, and a little bit more, allow more of that effortlessness. As I said, you do get a DNA report at the end with all the information that was revealed during the session that I did for you. And then there's you get invited, the DNA report you get up to 7 days as you're integrating the process, up to 7 days after you have your appointment, your booked session, when it was. And then you get invited to the Facebook group as well, so you can be there with other people, you can chat about your process, you can like exchange notes on your report or whatever it is that you found, the messages you received, and also kind of like maybe share about how your process is going. And it might be that you don't want to be in the group, and that's totally fine. You might want to be completely solo on this. So, but I hope you found this session informative. I hope it's been intriguing. I think that with anything to do with receiving a session, if it's something that is for you or not, and if you feel the calling for it. And also, it's really depends on what you're working with at this point in your life, but you will know in yourself if it's something you want to do or not. So thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you watching the replay, being here live as well. And yeah, and I wish you a really wonderful day. And as I said, get in touch if you have any further questions. Lots of love from me. Bye.